Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We've been working on this Bally $6 million man, understand, pinball machine, and we worked through the power supply was all screwed up. Did you see how screwed up the power supply was, Joe?
Yes, it was screwed up.
It had caught on fire or something horrible. It was broke. So we fixed that, and then we went up to the solenoid driver board. Did you see the video about the solenoid driver board, Joe?
Yeah, I did. It was broke as well.
Worked through that, got that going. And then we did a video about the MPU, which had been replaced by an Alltech Systems brand new pinball machine board, MPU, 20 years ago. And so it had a minor little issue. I don't want to say it was broke, but it was broke. But it was just a minor little thing. We sent it off, had it repaired, wasn't no problem. The company was great to work with, very inexpensive to get it done, and upgraded it to NVRAM and all that. So that was on the previous video. So now we are down to the Playfield. So Joe started taking the stuff off of the Playfield. We're fixing this for a customer, by the way. He started taking the stuff off the Playfield, and they didn't get to see that, Joe, because we didn't film it. So how did you do that?
I took everything off the playfield.
Okay. He's a man of few words.
Screwdriver.
I see you have it over here on our Star Trek.
Yeah, you got to make sure you lay it out like this. Because if you just take everything off and throw it on there, you're not going to know what screw goes where or what post goes where. So you kind of got to try to lay it out.
You kind of put the stuff where it was on the other machine.
Like this is the left slingshot. And this is the right slingshot.
Now this post right here, where did it go?
We're right there.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
And see how I got it laid out there? Because this one, see, you don't want to put this one here.
Yeah, exactly.
Or here.
Exactly.
It's got to go right there.
All right. Well, so Joey started pulling stuff off of it, but we got to show you what's going on the with the artwork on the playfield. Okay, so Joey has cleaned this thing. Now, Joe, tell him what happened here, so it'll be a warning to others. By the way, we're fixing this for a customer. Did he even want us to touch it up?
I don't think he did, really, but...
So it's not a thing where we got to make it perfect or something. Some people just want player machines, and this one will play fine even with this wear, but what's going on here, Joe?
He'd been touching it up over the years with a Sharpie.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually looked pretty good before I started cleaning it, but once you put something on it, Windex or any kind of cleaner, it just all smears and comes off.
Yeah, so that's why you can't really touch it up with a Sharpie. It doesn't last.
You can kind of tell he did around the inserts a little bit too, but this was the worst spot.
Mm. So what we use is acrylic paint. So acrylic paint is water-based, and the problem with acrylic paint is you can just clean it off with water. So it's even less durable than the Sharpie, but if you clear coat over the acrylic, it'll hold and everything works good. So we use acrylic paint to touch it up, and then clear over it. So I'm going to have to do the red. That's where most of the wear is. And then also a little bit of the yellow there. And then there is a teal circle around each one. That's also up here. So up here, red, teal, same thing. And then some black lines. And then it kind of needs a little bit of the blue. Well, it definitely needs some. But we're just going to keep it to that. So I'm going to do teal, red, and the blue. There's a little bit here, so we might do a little white there. But you run into this thing where the project creeps.
They put Mylar on top of that.
That one there was, you often get that in front of a slingshot because when it hits the ball, sometimes it digs it down and it'll start chipping it after a while. So they put Mylar over it, which we're just going to leave how it is. I'm not going to remove that. And when you remove Mylar, it can be done, but it just makes the biggest mess ever. Takes a lot of the paint off, then you got more stuff to touch up. I'm leaving it alone. So it's kind of a light touch up here. We're just going to try to make this V look better, this area right here, and see how close I can get it. So it's not going to look new, but hopefully it'll look a little bit better than it does now. So I'll get the paint and we'll start mixing it together and see if we can touch up any of this and make it more presentable. And then we'll have Joe, we'll clear it and we'll have Joe wax it and put it all back together, and we'll see how it ends up. But so let me grab the paint and maybe we'll do the red first. Okay, so the first thing I did was I went through and I roughed in some of the missing black lines just so that I'll kind of know where we need to, where the paint starts and stops each color. The way I do that is with these little acrylic paint pens. Acrylic, they got to be acrylic. We may end up with a problem, which we'll find out eventually. When I put the clear on, the acrylic may hold, and the Sharpies that are on there that I don't even know about may run. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll be all right. I'll try to put like a light coat on first and see if it sticks it. But yeah, so I drew back in some of the circles and stuff that are missing. Now, really, you kind of need to do that last, but I end up doing it twice. I'll do it once, so it kind of makes it a coloring book where I can tell where each color goes, and then I'll do it again at the end just to clean up the lines and make it look better. But you can see how just inking the lines back in makes it look better. And again, acrylic. So if you want something like this, you can buy these on Amazon. Somebody actually sent me this pack of them, one of our viewers here. Water-based. But if you want this exact type, if you go on our website, you can get a link to it. Go to lionsarcade.com. We got a bunch of links on there to the stuff we use in the videos. It'll take you to Amazon, most of the links. And if you buy anything on Amazon after you go there, like say you buy a bulldozer, it gives us a piece of your bulldozer purchase price because we sent you there through that link. So we appreciate everybody that's been buying bulldozers on Amazon and helping us out. Some people just buy socks. That's fine too. So let me mix up some red, and we'll see how close of a match we can get out of the bottle, and then which way we need to kind of push the color. Okay, so I buy all these little cheap craft paints, acrylic paints. These are like $1 a bottle, something like that. They used to be 59 cents, but inflation's really been killing us lately. But you can get these at all the craft stores and stuff. So what I'll try to do is just find one that's close right out of the bottle, and then we tint it to make it a little more like the color, right? So if you've seen our other videos, we do a bunch of these. And I've learned a little bit as time went on and gotten a little bit better at it too. One thing that I always do is if you can't get it perfect, you want it to be a little darker than it actually is. If your touch-up paint is too light, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So like for instance, these are like that right now, and you can see every little spot because it's too light. If it was too dark, you wouldn't see it as much. It's just how your eye sees it, and also, you know, you're very smart people. Your brain's doing computations that you don't even know about. So whenever you walk up to a machine that's old, you already know it's old way back here, right? And so when you walk up to it, your eye forgives the stuff that looks a little bit dirty, a little bit worn, right? Which is usually darker. So if it's a little bit darker, it makes it look kind of period correct, right? But you're not trying to make it darker. You want it to be a dead match, but if you can't get it perfect, make it too dark, okay? So I just kind of look and see which ones are the closest. This is primary red. A lot of the reds ended up being this primary red or something similar to it. I'm looking at the bottom of it because you're actually looking at the paint. And when they dry a little bit darker than they actually are in the bottle. So that one might be pretty close. This one is cherry red, but it's actually too dark. Right? So I could just touch it up with that, but we want to get a little better if we can. We've got country red, which I think they call it country red because it's kind of like a faded red kind of. So it's not quite right. And this one I've noticed before is a little dull looking, so it doesn't really match a bunch of them. This is Tuscan red, way too dark. It's almost like a blood red, right? And you can't go by the little label on it. I mean, they're close, but it's better to look at the actual paint. And then this one is actually crimson, so it's like more of a purple, right? So I think, like usual, our primary red is probably the best thing to start with. So the next thing that I do is I take the cap off of it and see what the actual paint looks like. So there's the actual color. The camera's going to fail you here a little bit because this camera is like not seeing it quite like my eye sees it here in person, or your eye would see it here in person. because the camera's playing with colors and the white balance a little bit, but you can kind of tell that that's just a little bit too dark and it's a little bit too vivid, right? So there's darkness and lightness, and then there's also, I call it vivid, but it's like the intensity of the color and the muted nature of the color. There's like a push and tug between that too. So sometimes you can get one where the color's about right, but it's just too vivid. It's like too in your face. And so you can mute it by putting the color that's opposite it on the color wheel. So if it's red, you would put like green. Do I have that right? So let me think, red, orange, yellow, yeah, green. So green is opposite red on the color wheel. If you put a little, just a tad, a little bit of green in red, it makes the red a little dull. A little more dull than maybe it was. Now when this thing was new, another thing we need to talk about, when this machine was new, it was a certain color, and the entire playfield was a certain color, and it was probably nice and bright and vivid, and it's held up pretty good, but it's now worn and yellowed just from all of the years that it's been on the earth. Okay, it's just old paint. So we're not trying to match new paint, and we're not trying to paint with new paint. We're trying to make it match the old paint. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to understand. But we get people telling us a lot of times, you know, do this, do that, but they're talking about painting things where you're not matching an old worn color. You're just painting everything whatever color you want, you know. So they'll say, well, sometimes if you want it to be a little more orange, you can do this. Yeah, but we're trying to match something, you know. We're not going to paint everything one color, so we kind of need to mess with it and mix it to get it about like this. We get people a lot suggesting to us too that we have the paint matched somewhere. Well, I need like the smallest little bit of paint. I don't need matched paint. So I mean, I could do that, but it's just easier for me to just mix it up right here, take a few minutes, and then paint it in. I could scan it, get the code number for it, and order the paint, or go to the store and try to get the smallest thing I can of that paint. But it's, you know, a lot of wasted time and stuff. Now, if you're a hobbyist and you're doing it as a hobby, you can absolutely do that because you're only going to need 2 or 3 colors. I do like tons of different machines, so I need different stuff all the time. It's better for me to just mix it myself. So that's what we're going to do. And you can do that too if you choose to. Okay. So we're going to take this red. I'll put just a little bit of it on the playfield here so you can see how it looks kind of in place, and then we'll see what we need to do to change it a little bit more like how the paint is on the playfield. Well, fortunately, the stuff is a really close match right out of the bottle. So it looks like I'm not even going to have to cover any of it or change any of it. This here is the new paint. You know, it's looking pretty good. Now you may see the little lighter area right here. That's because there's a piece of Mylar on the playfield there. That's what you're seeing. You're looking through the Mylar. But the actual red, right out of the bottle, looks pretty good. So let me see if I can add in a little more for you. It's always great when it matches right out of the bottle because you can touch it up at any time, and you run into this problem where you get a perfect mix and then you forget to do a part. Like there's one little red spot up here that up here that you forgot to do or something. Matter of fact, let's do that now while we're thinking about it. And then just a little bit of that, and then we'll let it dry and see if that's as good of a mix as it looks like it is. All right, folks, there is a peculiar little phenomenon that happens on the front window of this building. Every few years I see it, and I can see it right now. That piece of glass right there, right? We still got the Christmas decorations up. That piece of glass over there, sometimes when the weather is just right and the air conditioning inside is just right and the temperature outside and the humidity is just right, you can see a message on the glass. We've cleaned these windows hundreds of times, right? We have professional guys that come by and clean them every once in a while. But there is some kind of stain on the window from long, long ago. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it says, now it's backwards, so it says Snipes, S-N-I-P-E-S. I can see it pretty clear here. And this is glass, it's not plexiglass or anything. It says Snipes, and then under it, I can't quite make it out. It says S-H, so maybe that says cash. Gun, maybe? Gun, yeah. Something shop. This may be one of my best videos. Can you see the Snipes? I wonder if I change the brightness of the camera, if it'll make it show up better. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh, you thought I was full of it, didn't you? Snipes. Like I said, we've cleaned these 1,000 times. I'm gonna have to move this bear. He's right in the way. We're investigating, bear. You too, Mr. Snowman. We might have to make you leave too if you keep messing with us. Snipes, I can't quite. I can't see if it says pawn or gun. I think pawn. Pawn, and this is definitely shop. I can see the whole shop now. S-H-O-P. I'd love to see if that says pawn, though. We're either in Snipes Pawn Shop or Snipes Gun Shop. I can't figure it out. So who in the world knows when this building was Snipes Pawn Shop or Snipes Gun Shop? I've tried searching it. Can't find any record of it. So if any of you folks, if your Google Foo is working great, Snipes Pawn Shop or Snipes Gun Shop, 139 Caldwell Street, Rock Hill, South Carolina. See if you can figure out any information on when that would have been or what. I've looked in old phone books and everything else. I can't figure it out. So there you go. I've seen this 2 other times in 12 years. It's just something about on a certain day, if the humidity's just right, and I guess if the windows are dirty enough, they must have had some kind of vinyl on the window there or something, or paint, and it's stained into the glass. All right. Just thought it might be interesting. Okay, so we got the red on now. If you let the light hit it, you can see where it's a different, it's a matte finish. So you can see everywhere that I touched it up. But if the light's not hitting it, you can't really tell, right? So we'll see how that looks once we get clear on it and everything is the same sheen, okay? So now I've mixed together some blue and some green to try to make this teal, okay? And we've got the problem that I was talking about. See how it's not necessarily that it's a little bit too blue, it's that it's just a little bit too bright, a little too vivid. I repainted that, but haven't that. So it's close, but it's a little too in your face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mixture here, and if you think of the color wheel, red's at the top, green is opposite it. This is kind of like a greenish blue, a little bit to the left of the bottom of the color wheel. And so the opposite color would be like a reddish orange. So if you put like a little bit of a reddish orange in it, just a little tiny bit, not much, mix into it, it will make it a little less intense. So we're going to drop a drop in it and see if that gets us closer. Okay, so that did seem to tone it down a little bit. It's right there around the 10. The bonus parts, most of that hasn't been repainted though. So you can see it's a pretty good match. A little bit off, but pretty good. The yellow I started painting in. There's just a couple little spots. And the yellow is so thin, you have to put like multiple coats. So that's like 3 coats on it so far. I got another 2 or 3 to go. But one right out of the bottle was a pretty close match on that. The orange, same deal. Like for instance, I can't even see where I repainted. I repainted some of that orange right out of the bottle that matched. Your eye can discern colors, differences in color on certain colors worse than others. So orange, there's only a couple of them that you can even tell if it's off. At least to me. That's how my eyes are, at least. And like I said, we've got that sheen difference there that the clear coat will fix. Okay, so oh, I started putting, so there's a few clouds that are damaged here. So I just painted in some buttermilk instead of white because it's actually like a yellowish kind of color because since it's faded. So I usually use buttermilk. So I painted in the base of it there. We'll throw a little blue on top of it here in a minute. But somebody was asking me a while back if you could paint on the Mylar. I don't know. I've never tried it. So maybe we'll try it. We'll see if we can get rid of that wear thing that we were talking about there by just painting right over the Mylar and then clearing over it. Might work, might chip off, but I've got the colors here anyway, so might as well. So I went ahead and put the white on the cloud that was missing there, and then we'll paint a little blue over the top and clear it and see what happens. Maybe it'll hold up, maybe it won't. So yeah, we're down to, I need to put a few more yellow coats on. Need to redo some of the lines again and again and again. And I need to do that blue. So let's see if we can get any kind of match on the blue, and that will really bring it all together. Okay, so here's a great example. See how the blue on the Playfield looks faded and old, and then the blue I'm putting on is too blue, right? So I've mixed a couple blues together, and it's just too blue. It's not quite a match. So the thing with these Playfields is they yellow over time. So if you look at it, if it were more of a green, it'd be a little bit better of a match. And we're about the right tone, like as far as like what's the best way to put it? It's not really too light or too dark. It's just too blue, right? So it needs to be a little more green. So I'm going to take my paint sample here, and I'm going to mix a little bit of green in it, and see if we can just move it around the color wheel a little bit, make it a little more green, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, so since it's kind of like a medium color, and it wasn't too bright and it wasn't too dark, it was about right, it was just too blue, I picked a green that's kind of a medium green to try to bend it a little to the little more green, right? And then it looked to me like we had the issue where it was appearing too vivid, so I used a little bit more of a dull green, so it's like an ugly green. Now it's avocado green. Might have just triggered a bunch of people saying avocados are ugly, but like this would be a bad one to use, because if you put this in, you're going to lighten your color up and you're making it more vivid. Look how damn intense that is, you know, so you don't want to use that for this. But some things that might be perfect for. And then something like this, that's a medium green, but again, it's really intense. So if I put that in, I'm making like a really bright look. See, we're working on this Bally Circus as well. See how that all looks kind of faded and just, it's got like almost like a, I mean there's a lot of yellow on it, but it's got almost like a yellow tint to it from the age. Now look at that. I mean, it don't, you know, it's got too much going on. All right? It's not far off though. And then you got like, this is literally neon green, you know, so you just got to watch how intense something is that you use. And then on the other end of it, you've got this forest green is kind of darker and it's muted too. It's not real intense, you know. So you just play around with it a little bit. After a while, you kind of try a few things, and they work out pretty good. Kelly green, that's a nice kind of natural green. You know, it's like it's not too intense and not too muted. And I've got holly green, which is kind of dark, but it's a little more vivid, right? So I got all kinds of different greens and stuff. So I put in the light avocado, which is kind of ugly. So where we were is that one. I mixed in a little light avocado, and now I'm over to here. It's still a little too blue and a little bit too intense, but it looks like we're moving in the right direction, right? So I'm just going to put a little more in it and go a little more and try another little spot and see if we get a little bit closer. Okay, so a little more green. Got us a pretty close match. You can see it a little bit, but some of that is because it's matte and there's no sheen on it. So some of that will go away whenever we clear it. And of course we'll touch up our little spot that's the wrong color. Okay. And if it is the wrong color, notice it's slightly darker than the original, so it hides it a little bit better. So I did a bunch of the other stuff that was missing, touched it up a little bit through here, all that was up through there. I left a little bit of it, you know. And then I tried putting it on the Mylar too, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to take the black ink and ink some of the lines back in, and then we're about ready to clear it and see how it comes out. Okay, folks, so I just used clear out of a spray paint can, and I painted this area right here, the area that we touched up. You can see it's still wet. I didn't paint any of this. There's overspray. It's going to get on some of your switches. Completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter. If you're to the point where you're doing this level of work on it, you know, it's not going to be perfect. This is kind of like the shade tree mechanic way of doing this, right? But we use satin clear. So because it's satin, whenever it dries, the sheen will be very similar to the part of the playfield that you didn't paint. Now, alternatively, you could take everything off, even the switches, and then do it if you'd like. Or you could do the entire playfield. We're not touching up the whole playfield. You can actually see that there's some wear up here that we're not addressing. We're not messing with that. Right? We just wanted to do this down here because it's the main part that you see. You can see that my blue that I touched up, it is a little bit too green, just slightly, so I didn't get it perfect. But all in all, I think it's blended in pretty good compared to where we were. So we're going to let this dry overnight, and then when Joe comes in tomorrow, he can wax it and start putting it back together. And I think it'll end up looking really nice. Whenever it's wet, it looks a little weird, but once it dries and the sheen is all the same on everything, I think you'll be surprised at how decent it looks. Someone may not even know that we did it if they weren't looking real close. Alright folks, so this is how it ended up. I think it came out pretty good. We have to mess with the flippers still, but we were able to put everything else back on the playfield. We haven't worked on the light bulbs or anything yet, so it's still got a little ways to go. But I think it looks a lot cleaner than it did. What do you think? I like it. I'd be proud to have this in my own home. The red touch-up, I didn't do any of that, people. Ugh. It looks like a horror movie. Ugh. Looking pretty good. So we got to mess with some light bulbs and some sockets and stuff like that. We got to mess with the flippers. We got to play it a little bit. We got to see if the sound is working properly, if all of the solenoids are working right, and test everything out. So we'll do it in one final video where we do all that stuff. But we figured we'd just show you us working on the playfield a little bit. People seem to enjoy that. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. You can give us a thumbs down if you want to, but they don't count anymore. YouTube took away the thumbs down. I don't understand. I don't get that. I don't get what the point is. I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't understand. I can see getting rid of it. You can still hit it. It just doesn't do anything. I've heard rumors of why that happened, but I don't know if they're completely true or not. It's just interesting. It's a strange world we live in, people. But leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Make sure to subscribe to us if you haven't already. And if you didn't see the previous videos, go back and check those out. We've got a little bit of a problem we've been trying to figure out, where we used to put a number in the video so that you would know which one goes with which. I haven't figured out a great way to do that yet, because here's the problem. This is very I don't know the best word for this. This is kind of, you got to get in your brain here and think about things new, right? So if I put up this video of doing the Playfield and I say $6 Million Man Pinball Repair number 4, and then, you know, whatever thing, or if I just say the title like I did and it says 4-5, okay, or it says 4 out of 5, you get many less views, because all of you folks that are still watching this video all the way to the end, you're my hardcore fans. I mean, you love this stuff. You're pinball through and through. You'll watch anything. I could set the camera down on that for an hour and you'd watch it, right? It's just how you are. But a lot of people that watch the videos, they're more casual. And if they see one that's numbered and it's in the middle of the series, they're not going to watch it because they feel like they've already missed 3 of the videos. So I try to do the titles where it's kind of like its own standalone thing. But then the people that want to watch the whole series, it kind of messes them up because they don't know what order they're in. Now, the order they're in is always the order I upload them in. So like this video, the previous video was the 3rd video in this series. This is the 4th video, and then there will be a 5th video. And so you can tell what order they're in by the date. But I think maybe it's hard to figure that out depending on where you see the video on YouTube or something. So we're trying to figure out the best way to do that. I could just put a number 4 or 5, but it messes it. You actually get less views when you do that. So I don't know. We're trying to figure that out. There's got to be some way to do it. I tried using the hashtags too. You can put hashtags on the description, but a lot of people don't know about that, so that doesn't really work either. So we're trying to figure that out. But anyway, we'll figure something out. So leave your comments down below. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to check out my brother Donnie. If you don't know who that is, he's my brother. And he has a channel here on YouTube. If you like watching us work on these old pinball machines and arcade games, you'd probably enjoy watching Donnie work on all the old stuff he works on. Old vehicles. We've got a couple old buildings that we're working on. We're always into something. So go check out my brother Donnie. I'm over there with him a lot of the times. And we'll see you again on another video for this one, where we'll do just a little bit more repair to get the thing up and running and make sure it's good for the guy when we send it back to him. Hope you enjoyed it.